Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Which I still think is a very unimaginative name. Now again, we could go this way, and I think there's only one scenario that way. I don't think there's any other additional ones, but there is an additional one this way, so we'll take it first. Turn this on.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ah, but we already know.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
So here's where we can do... Of course, if we hit this, then we just go to the normal ending, or the story ending, if you will. But we could also turn it on. So what if Stanley wanted to become the evil overlord?
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
I like to think of that as the narrator becomes GLaDOS. Oh, look at all the paper all over the place. What a mess.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
So, that scenario is the explosion or the countdown scenario. And of course the trope there was, you know, usually when a developer presents a player with a countdown, the idea is to figure out what's going on before the counter expires. But as you may have guessed from seeing me wander around kind of aimlessly, there is no solution. None of the buttons do anything. The narrator's quite right as when he claims that there's nothing we can do to stop the detonation. Because he's completely in control. You saw that he added time to the clock when he wanted to. So that's, getting to that particular point is, I guess, the player trying to see if he can really hijack the developing process. And this time the developer's reaction is, you know, hell no. There's nothing you can really do. Ultimately, whoever's designing the game is in control. And I still don't think we can get to that window, unless I'm thinking of the wrong place. In which case we can always try the other, the door on the right and see if that helps, but I don't think it does.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Now let's take the right path again this time.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Well, we do love this room.
The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? Its grace? Its subtle charm? No. Stanley knew it was something deeper, something darker. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Alright, so for this time, let me think. I want to go... Well, you know, we've been antagonizing the director for... The director? I suppose you could call him that also. The narrator for a while. Let's start out where we're being defiant.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
Let's start out being defiant, but at the very last minute, we'll make nice with the narrator.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's somewhat... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
And as we've seen through some of the other scenarios, the narrator can be vindictive. So his pleas that we're being unreasonable are a little suspect.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Nope.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
So, this is the last chance. I mean, if you go through the red door the first or second time, I'm pretty sure you get the same thing as walking through here. This is the only time where you actually have to make the choice. And we've already taken the complete defiance door, or scenario. This is, okay, at the very last minute, we'll decide to trust the narrator.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Oof, ouch. Door went right into my face.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
It is rather pretty. Ooh. And of course, we could stay here, and you could pretty much just stay here as much as you want. The narrator seems to be happy to let us just stay here for all eternity. You can't actually walk off the edges here, but you can leave through this door.
No, wait. Where are you going? Right. Where were we?
So, what happens when you take away all choice and conflict in a game? Well, it might seem a little nice at first, but now everything is just stagnant. You just stay here and nothing ever changes. I have to admit, though, going from there to here looks pretty depressing. Just concrete blocks fitted together.
Oh no! Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Seems the narrator has become much more invested in the game than we are at this point.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. No! Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Not sure if he comments that if you actually do go back. Nice colors. Nope, no comment. Okay. What I don't understand is, you know, we jumped off of about that same height just earlier and we died.
No. No, no. What are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you... My God. Is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
The first time I played this, I was feeling really bad as I was going through this. It's a testament to the actor who's playing the narrator. He could put so much sadness into his lines, you actually start to feel really bad that you're doing this.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back. I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing.
So that was the stagnant happy ending there, where you know, we wanted to, in order to have a game continue to be a game, there needs to be challenges. There needs to be
no matter how hard Stanley
change.
looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Which I think is what that scenario is about. So in the end, we rather just restart the game than stay in the, quote, ideal place. Ah, okay, actually I was wrong. I was thought that there should be an extra box here, but you can use the chair to get right up onto here. So what we're going to do now, one thing you can do, you can't jump, but you can crouch. So we're going to make our way. If we can squeeze. Oops, yeah. Find a way to get just over the lip there. Ah. There we go. So you need to use a little bit of crouching, but you can kind of clip it across that little divider there, and then you're right in. This is the only place where you can actually stand at about the windowsill level. And sure enough, we can go through the window.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Now, and I believe if you just say no, then he'll just let you sit here forever because you're not sick of the gag. You're still enjoying it, so he won't change anything.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly.
Aww.
What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. You too will become quite unbearable.
And so I think at this point, the music will continue to just go and go and go. And as the narrator said, at any point we can just hit escape and begin the game again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
All right, let's defy
This
the
was
narrator
not the
again.
correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first time understood true happiness. Then the feeling went away, and he felt sad again. Then it came back, and lingered for a minute or two. Now it's only half there. Just a kind of, tingle. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Knowing how often that you have to go through that room, it was nice of them to make sure that the narrator had a lot of different riffs on describing that room there. All right. Now we are going to come this way one more time, I think. And then actually, there's 2 more possibilities down this particular route. But one of them actually leads to what I consider to be like the official ending for the entire experience. So we'll save that.
Stanley was
to
so
the end.
bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
But there is another alternative we can take here.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Her?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Okay.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
I don't know about that. That's a little creepy. I think I'm just going to leave.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
The very first time this happened to me, it really startled me. Probably more than anything else in the game, just because of how it appears, just kind of coming out of the floor.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Uh-oh. Press U on the keyboard.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Press 5 to watch TV.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Press 9 to spend time with the boys.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Press 3 to prepare dinner.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Press 9 to tell your kids a story.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Press T to tell your wife you love her.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Press 8 to go to sleep.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
And of course, you can choose not to. But then what else are you going to do here?
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Press 8 to question nothing.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
All right.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
So that one, actually, when I was playing through this game, that scenario gave me the clue that Stanley was supposed to represent pretty much every person who's being a player of a game. It wasn't immediately clear to me. Maybe I'm just a little thick-skulled, but as I was going through that scenario, I finally realized, oh, I get it. So Stanley is the player for just any game in general, and it helped me to start to see some of the future scenarios that I did in a much more different way. And of course, part of that scenario, I think, is the dangers of letting gaming completely consume your life. You'll notice that every time it asked you to press a button, it would have some kind of everyday activity, like, telling your wife that you love her, telling stories to your children, making dinner, all that kind of stuff. It's the at least I interpret that as starting to see everything in the context of your virtual gaming world. So people who become completely addicted to doing games, where essentially developers who make the games are telling them push this button and then push that button. It can be entertaining, but eventually if you let it go too far, it just becomes this slavish existence, and it ends up consuming your life. So we saw there that his apartment building became the office, which is where he pushes the buttons. The game became his entire life. So a rather dark ending there. It also, story-wise, it's interesting because it poses the possibility that this entire game is just in Stanley's head, because he's so mind-numbingly bored with his job that he imagines all these weird things happening to him. I thought that these clocks told the normal time, but now I'm not so sure, because every time I see them, they're showing different times now. So maybe I was mistaken the first time I thought that. Now, one of the things that...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
One of the things that was mentioned when the narrator was describing the stuff that Stanley thought up, he mentioned the games about babies, we saw that one, and seeing the whole room of screens, we saw that one. But they also mentioned a strange line that kept wiggling around, or something to that effect. So let's go ahead and have that be the next scenario. This is also from the right path.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy in a way he had never known before. Was it this room? A connection between the two? Could a man love a room? I mean, truly, truly, deeply, madly love.
When a man loves
Yes,
a room.
really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utter, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Alright, so let's actually do that now. Let's attempt to jump back into the main story.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
I think if you do it this way, you will actually get right back on track. But what happens if you take the conspicuously lit elevator?
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's,
Yeah?
left.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Oh,
No, it's to the right. My mistake.
You sure?
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Ah. Okay. Narrator appears to have a walkthrough that he's looking at.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes.
Yep.
Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So you might think that the game is just starting over again, but it's not the case.
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley,
It's a lot more
did you
doors.
change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere, or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
So that's your probably the most blatant clue as to what we're going to be parodying here. He says, let's have an adventure. And let's find the story. So that's what this one is about. I think that way and that way. Let's go this way. Left first, right?
I'll
That's the
say
rule
it.
of thumb.
This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
And that was designed just to be a big labyrinth. There really is nowhere you can go in particular. It just keeps doubling back on itself.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Okay. All the little changes they have in these offices always makes me want to get in there, but of course you never can.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all.
Yeah.
Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
Yay.
Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Place looked a little creepy.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line.
Huzzah.
Just follow the line. How simple is that?
So, have any of you out there played an adventure game that feels a little bit like this? In order to progress the story, go this way.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there?
That's
Or to
deep.
put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
All right.
Cut the music,
Huh?
go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Alright, I may need to know the number of leaves on this fern. It may come in handy to some riddle asked by a wizard later on. So how many times in an adventure game have we been compelled to study something for no particular reason other than the fact that the developer decided that it's going to be important to do later on in the story? Whereas there's no context in which to do it at the actual time. Man. That happens a lot, especially in older adventure games.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart. You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. This all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ooh. Now we're actually asked by the narrator to take a side route.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
I await with bated breath.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
We're ignoring the line, although at this point we're kind of stuck with it. Ah, there we go.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Nope, can't open the other door. The confusion ending. And if you read along here, it actually covers all of the scenario points we've added so far, or that we've hit so far. And you can see the remaining points there on the right.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really... No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination, so I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime...
Apologies if that sound was a little abrupt.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Alright, so that, I think, as you saw on the screen there, that's officially called the confusion scenario, or the confusion ending. However, given the stuff that was within the scenario, I always think about adventure games for that run through, because you're given the adventure line where you're on a particular story, and you're basically told you need to go here and do that, and look at things that are a little out of context just because people say that they're important, and then you finally get to apparently go off the track. But of course, that perception or that appearance of choice is just an illusion because it has to be programmed. So you're never really escaping the adventure line, so to speak. A very philosophical kind of approach, which is why, of course, the narrator gets lost in his own philosophy trying to think about it.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alright, I think that's as much as I'm going to do for now. We have a few more scenarios, plus a couple more Easter eggs to find in this game. But for now, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the game so far. How do you interpret the various scenarios here? One of the reasons that I like to play this game was that it kind of reminded me a little bit of The Path, in that the game itself is interesting and has a very unique visual style, but it also, I think, promotes a lot of thought as you're going through about games and the idea of choice. Alright, so until next time, fellow adventurers, take care.